If you look at the world, foreign policy is a big chess game, and you have a lot of pieces all over the board in different places. And the president's been masterful with the way that he's built different relationships, taken some pieces off the board, created different issues in other places. And I think that he set the board up very, very well now to have continued successes in the years ahead.
And secondly, because I know you would have been part of these conversations at the time, I do want to ask you about that Atlantic report that we saw today and how in a 2018 planning meeting for a military parade, the president reportedly said he didn't want amputees there. He said nobody wants to see that. Have any of you, but particularly you, ever heard the president talk like that?
The answer is no. Look, what I find in Washington is strange is sometimes you'll have a couple unnamed sources and then the media treats that as a panacea. And then you'll have 10 people on the record saying it didn't happen, and you give no credence to that. That does not represent the way that I've seen the president conduct himself. He has tremendous respect for the military, for our veterans. He's, again, the media tries to ascribe a different way, but you have to look at his actions, and I think his actions have been incredible towards supporting the military, strengthening the military, and strengthening our veterans. But with regards to your question on timing, look, deals happen when deals are ready, and I do think that you can't just come in, wave a magic wand, and make impossible deals happen, right? People describe peace in the Middle East as something that's it's less a deal than more of a saying for what is impossible, and it's taken a lot of building blocks that had to be moved, a lot of untraditional moves. When the president moved the embassy to Jerusalem, when he recognized the Golan Heights, when he got out of the Iran deal, when we did our economic conference in Bahrain. It's probably 50 decisions that the president's made that allowed him to create a different course. And each one along the way, you've had people like the magazine you mentioned before criticizing his foreign policy, saying it wasn't strategic, it didn't have a plan. But again, he's not a traditional Washington person, and the traditional Washington people have a track record of creating those wars that we have sent our soldiers to that have led to a lot of them getting killed or hurt. And President Trump's been ending those wars and bringing his soldiers back home. And so I would say deals happen when deals are ready. And the deal that you saw last week had nothing to do with the election. It had everything to do with the fact that it's time for the president to start harvesting some of the accomplishments that he spent years building the foundation in order to achieve. And what I would say too is that if you look at the world, foreign policy is a big chess game, and you have a lot of pieces all over the board in different places. And the president's been masterful with the way that he's built different relationships, taken some pieces off the board, created different issues in other places. And I think that he set the board up very, very well now to have continued successes in the years ahead. So obviously the voters will decide whether they give President Trump 4 more years. But if they do give him 4 more years, I think you'll see that Iran is in a much weaker position than they were 4 years ago. North Korea, we've had obviously a much better situation they had 4 years ago. Venezuela's in a different situation. The Middle East went from a place that, again, when President Trump got in, Libya was a mess, Syria was a mess, Yemen was a mess, all of our allies felt alienated, Iraq was a mess, and you see a much different Middle East today than we had 3.5 years ago. And that's not an accident. That's because President Trump has had a good strategy, and he's worked very hard to manifest that. So now we're starting to see some of the fruits from his labor, but I do believe that we'll see even more and more of that as time goes on. So we're set up for more successes, hopefully in the weeks ahead, the months ahead, but definitely in the years ahead to take President Trump's America First foreign policy, where he's making trade deals for the first time that are endorsed by our workers and our labor unions that are bringing jobs back home. He's representing our farmers, he's representing our ranchers, he's representing our manufacturers. And he's also ending these endless wars and figuring out how to bring our soldiers home and fighting the threats from overseas so that Americans can prosper here at home.